Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
I'm a regular reader and a small financial supporter of a very smart website in the UK called lockdownskeptics.org. Skeptics spelled with a C. It's updated all the time. It's really well laid out. It's like a blog, really, with short commentaries and analyses. But the most interesting part of it, to me at least, is that it's a clearinghouse for skepticism about lockdowns everywhere. They really do scan the world's media, not just in the UK, for interesting and authoritative news. And that's another thing I like about it. I find it trustworthy. It has strong opinions, but those opinions seem to me to be based on strong facts. It really is a good site, and it's another great project involving Toby Young, who also helped found the Free Speech Union in the UK, which helps people caught by cancel culture. They do petitions and they hire lawyers, and they actually managed to uncancel people in the UK. I wish we had something like that here in Canada. Anyways, about the Lockdown Skeptics site, you might remember a few months ago I showed you a fun project of theirs. They're singles ads, they're dating ads. They call it Love in the Time of COVID, which is great. It's for people who can't stand the scolding lockdown culture and those terrified by it and those obedient to it. I like the idea that people want to meet other normal people. I think that's a great idea. Anyways, it was from Lockdown Skeptics that I saw this article in the London Telegraph by Matthew Lynn, who's a business reporter, really. So it's not coming from the point of view of a civil liberties activist like Toby Young or a single issue lockdown skeptic. The Telegraph describes the author this way. A financial columnist and author, he writes for Wall Street Journal, Market Watch, The Spectator, and Money Week, as well as The Telegraph, and has worked as a columnist for the Sunday Times and Bloomberg. His books include Bust, Greece, the Euro, and the Sovereign Debt Crisis, etc. So, as you can see, he's a business writer, really. But this column is more than just business. He was writing in reaction to this news. COVID vaccine passports could be introduced to reopen economy. Boris Johnson has not ruled out possibility of vaccination certificates for work or visiting culture venues. Here, I'll read a little bit from this original story. Vaccine certificates could be introduced to open parts of the economy to those who have had the jab as a government review is launched. The review will investigate how testing and or vaccination could be used to establish whether people have a lower risk of COVID transmission. Boris Johnson has previously not ruled out the possibility of vaccine certificates for work or visiting venues such as theaters or cinemas, but has suggested he favors negative COVID tests as a way to open up the toughest nuts of the economy. So obviously it's going to happen. I mean, of course it will. This is the so-called Conservative Party in the UK. You can only imagine that the Socialist Labour Party wants this kind of total control even more. A passport, even just to walk out of your house. It's like how it was in Nazi Germany or Soviet Russia. Some secret policeman would come up to you and say, "Where's your papers? Show me your papers." So here's what Matthew Lynn said about that article. He wrote a column. I'd never heard of him until I read this, and it made me encouraged that he wrote it, and sad that he had to write it, and terrified because it's probably going to happen. I don't know, wistful is the word a little bit, and I'm certain that we'll follow every bad example in the world too here in Canada. So here's the column that caught my eye in Lockdown Skeptics today. Vaccine passports would crush Britain's can-do culture. Don't be fooled, vaccine passports are no gateway to freedom. So right away he's focused on enterprise and can-do, which is a sort of liberty, but he's speaking as a businessman, isn't he? By the way, NHS in this article obviously refers to their National Health Service. It's their kind of government-run healthcare. So let me read. It could be a simple National Healthcare Service card. It could be an app on your phone. Heck, it could even be a full-blown embossed booklet with the Union flag on the cover, or, for the conspiracy theorists, a microchip embedded at birth. It doesn't really matter what form a vaccine passport takes. Whichever version we go for, it will still be a step on a dangerous path, one that takes us towards a permission-based society where mavericks are criminalized, individuality is crushed, and we lose the competitive advantage that liberty has always given us. See, he's bringing it back to the competitive advantage. Sure, I value that too. But I just value being free even more. Being free for me it's the goal itself. It's not just the means to another goal like a competitive advantage. But that's fine. He's a business guy. That's who he's writing to in the London Telegraph. I'll read some more. As the vaccines keep rolling out and with a roadmap out of lockdown in place, attention is turning to what a normal society would look like. Our government, along with most others, has started examining vaccine passports. The premise is simple. Carry proof that you had the jab or a recent COVID test, and you can go to the pub, visit a gallery, or hop on an EasyJet flight for a weekend in Budapest. They could, as passports are meant to be, turn into a gateway to freedom. After all, if you are not carrying the virus, why should your life be restricted? The case for vaccine passports almost makes itself, and they may be hard to resist simply because so many companies will demand them regardless of what the government says. Airlines are already discussing requiring certificates before you fly. It may be the only practical way to get back into business again. Here's the problem, however. We will be surrendering a far larger freedom than simply the choice of whether we get a jab for COVID-19. Vaccine passports would institutionalize the idea that liberty is not a natural right, but conditional. That's the thing, isn't it? They take away your freedom, then they tease you with it. Give you a little bit, then take it away again, then they tease you with it. They're conditioning you. You know, we bought a puppy for the kids during the lockdown. Training a puppy is quite an exercise, but they do get trained. How do you scold a puppy when it's doing something wrong? How do you reward a puppy when it's doing something right? Hey guys, if you do what you're told, maybe we'll let the children of the community go back to school, but with masks on, including on the playground. Hey, you should be grateful that we're allowing you to do even that. You're grateful, right? Sure, we'll let the kids be kids. They just have to live in these little pods for band practice. Funny how in every single country, it seems like it's friends and insiders of the political parties in power who get the massive contracts for all the bizarre solutions to this crisis, like these pods in this band camp. Here's a former Liberal MP in Canada who just happened to get a $250 million contract from Justin Trudeau for ventilators. That's just by coincidence, guys. All right, back to the article in the Telegraph. In Britain, the common law tradition holds that everything is permitted unless it is specifically outlawed. Civil code countries such as France flip that around. Everything is forbidden unless it is specifically permitted. It may seem like a matter of semantics, but there's a huge difference between the two. The history books tell us clearly that common law countries have far higher rates of inventiveness, innovation, and openness than civil code nations. It's not hard to understand why. In France, you have to go on a course before you can open many different types of business. There's less of a culture of risk-taking in business or beyond. Again, I get it. It's why we're all so irritated when, some kids set up a lemonade stand on the street and then some grouchy person calls the cops on them because they don't have a business license or something. But when I say we're all so irritated by that, obviously, we're not all irritated by that because someone did snitch to the police, right? And the police did actually come, right? So there is indeed an impulse, even in a free society, to regulate and crush. In the UK, they've really gone down that road far already. It's the joke, "Oi, mate, where's your license?" Like when that Scottish YouTuber, Count Dankula, was convicted of a crime for a joke. "Oi, where's your joking license, mate?" All those bad instincts have been strengthened in recent years. Let me read some more from the story. Vaccine passports are yet another treacherous step on the road to a licensed, permission-based society. We won't be able to travel, work in an office, or meet up with friends unless some official somewhere has stamped our papers. Worse, the risk is cultural as much as legalistic. It was already going to be a struggle to unwind the impact of nearly a year of lockdown, where people had the most intimate areas of their lives micromanaged by the state. The danger was always that this state of mind would become entrenched, that we would become used to waiting until we were told what to do before we did it. Vaccine passports would help to institutionalize that mindset at tremendous cost of freedom and much else. He's right. It's like the puppy. We're being trained. Ask permission. Check with politicians first. Check with bureaucrats first. Check with police first. Uh-oh. What if the neighbors see that I'm not wearing a mask? What if the neighbors see that I'm having a 90-year-old relative over? I'm scared not of the virus, but I'm scared of the virus cops. I'm scared of authority because I obey them now. Here's how this journalist ends his column in the Telegraph. There's a far better solution. Once vaccines are available to everyone, it's up to you whether you want to get a jab or not. If you don't, then clearly you're taking a risk, and that's up to you. Other than that, you should be able to live your life as you please. We need to be working out how to reduce the massive increase in state power witnessed over 12 painful months, not finding new ways to permanently increase it. So it's obviously going to happen in the UK. I mean, are you in any doubt? That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.